Hey guys, good morning and welcome to Trinity's training page. This is our question of the day section. We haven't had a video in a few days. I've been going to a hunt test and had to come home and get a day of rest after a 3-day hunt test. So we're getting back on our feet again and here for a few days at the kennel. Then we're going to hit the road and head to Alabama for another long weekend and run another hunt test. But had a question from Seth Claybaker. We discussed making your marks count the other day, and Seth said he would like to hear my thoughts on wind and effects on marks and all that. Well, so I decided to carry it just a little further than that. Um, I'm going to call this effects of factors, on marks and blinds, and I've got a few examples here. A couple of factors that you can, that you'll always have. You'll have number one is suction, number two is drift, and then terrain. Okay, those are there's lots of factors, but we'll just discuss these three right here today. On our first one, example I've got here would be example of suction of a mark. Okay, just suction of a mark on a blind. For instance, if there was no wind here, and you had your gunner shoot and throw this mark, and then you picked it up, and then you ran a blind, the black line is the line that we would all like to have with dogs. Uh, some of your more experienced dogs, master hunters, and some of your field trial dogs, you can expect a little bit more out of this black line, okay? But most dogs that are, in the transition stage of training, that would be after the yard work part's done. For you guys that are not familiar with, the yard and transition, and then your next stage, what we call maintenance. Okay, but a transitional dog, I've put expected places that I would expect to handle that dog, and there may be more of these and there may be less, just depending on the experience of the dog. Um, you're going to come here and kill your dog dead bird back, and I'm going to expect my dogs, the ones like I said that are in early transition, to give me this kind of a line here. Okay, I'm going to expect to get a handle before the blind and a handle after the blind. Okay, because they really like to go get what they've already been to. Okay, that's just in their canine nature, and this is called mark suction. Okay, that's the suction that a mark has upon a blind. Okay, then our next one we have maybe the same type setup with wind here. Okay, um, you I've got here drawn a wind direction blowing, I guess you'd say, from the holding blind toward the mark. Okay, I'm going to pick up this mark and then we're going to come in here and run this blind. Okay, again, the black line is what I would like to see out of my dogs. But realistically, this is probably what you're going to get right here. When you have another factor added into there, here we have suction and we have wind drift. Okay, you're going to get more handles. That's to be expected. Um, so you're probably going to get a handle a little quicker. And then you're going to have a handle about the same place you had a handle here, and probably expect another one about the same place, and then maybe one more just because of the winds causing the dog to fade toward the holding blind. Okay, um, and then you can throw terrain in the mix. Okay, this is just a cold down the shore, across a point water blind. Um, this is something that we run out here on our technical ponds quite a bit. And after we've ran it, a few times with dogs, you'll see them give you this black line right here. They'll go past the islands over the point, just like it's another day at the office, because they've had enough repetitions to be able to look out and see that picture of what you're wanting them to run. Okay. Um, with no wind here, or actually I've got a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind blowing in toward the shore. Okay, these are, again, the black line is what we hope for. The green line is kind of what we expect. You change the wind direction here, you're going to start seeing them try to beach on these islands and swim past this point, you're going to get some handling. So different wind directions mean a lot to a dog, okay? You know, there's 8 different directions of wind. You got north, south, east, and west, and then northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. Okay, you know, there's like I said, so you just kind of have to figure out what you want to do. And when you learn to use wind to your advantage, to your advantage, to the dog's disadvantage, your dogs will get better at doing wind setups. Okay. Another suction that we have here is obstacle suction, okay? And this can be something as simple as a holding blind out in the field, uh, high grass, an area of high cover. Uh, I don't know about other parts of the country, but here in Texas we have a lot of Johnson grass. So we use that to our advantage. This could be cattails in a pond. Brush pile is what I've got wrote here. A lot of times at a hunt test, you'll see a judge set up a blind that'll run right past a brush pile, and you know these are the anticipated points of handling. Um, I'd probably actually move this one a little bit closer to here because you get that dog, you let that dog go past that brush pile, you're gonna see him suck over behind it, and then next thing you know, dog's out of sight, and you've lost your dog, and he can't see you, you can't cast him. Okay, that's another factor is the obstacle, and here's another terrain factor that we work on a lot. You guys will have to kind of excuse my artwork here. This is what we call a two track road. Okay, if you out training on some farmer's property, if you guys are fortunate enough to get to use your neighbor's property, maybe where he drives out and feeds his cows or whatever every day, he makes the same tracks over and over, okay, and it wears out, makes a dirt spot, and you usually got a little high ridge in the middle of it or whatever. This is something that we talked about the other day on gradient blinds, running gradient blinds on a channel or gradient blinds over a road, okay, that will help you combat this error that the dogs make. Dogs naturally tend to square objects, okay? In other words, when they get out on a bank, they don't generally very easily, or when they cross a road or any obstacle, they don't generally want to go in at an angle and out at an angle, okay? If you watch your dogs, um, they'll generally run up to something and then they'll turn to get into the water, and then they might they might turn back and head the direction that they were initially going, and then they want to turn to get out, okay? So what that does here is, if you guys can see this, the black line is the true line to the blind, okay? The handle and the handle, those are what we expect to have to do to combat the dog, because what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to come up to this road and then square it, and they're going to be right here, and then they're going to, if they get back on line, they're going to miss this blind. And generally, if this road's 10 foot wide, they're going to miss that blind by 10 foot. If they get back on line themselves, they're going to be off however wide that obstacle is. If it's a 30-foot channel, they're going to be off 30 foot off the blind, okay? So it's your job to kind of handle them and try to keep them as close to this true line as you can, okay? Another thing that's on a blind, on a mark, this is what will happen to you on a mark. Now the wind's blowing this direction away from the mark and away from the blind. The black line is the true line to the bird, okay? That's what we call the honest side of the bird. This is the dishonest side of the bird. We always try to want to train on this side because that puts us right here at a hunt test. If you train to right here, you'll be here on a hunt test, okay? Which is not a bad thing, but I always want to try to keep my dogs on the honest side of blinds and the honest side of marks because I'm training. I want it to be challenging to them, okay? But anyway, this is what happens to you on a mark when a dog squares the road and you do not handle. All right, dog runs up, squares the road. They end up on a monster hunt, or a gorilla hunt, some people call it, over here behind the mark, and they can never come up with the bird unless they just go on this huge monstrous hunt and they hunt on both sides of the gun and all that. That's what that squaring the road will get you. Same thing with a water channel on either one of these. It's the same thing. But those are some of the effects that factors will have. Like I said, you got suction, you got drift, and you got terrain, and then you can combine all those, and you can come in right here and you can have wind, you can have terrain, and you can throw a mark, and you can put them all together. Uh, that's what good trainers do. Is, they try to put several factors into each mark and each marking setup. But you don't want to, like I said, we went over marks the other day on how to make your marks count, and you need to do some of these things on some of your marks, but some of the marks you need to have some therapy marks. For example, yesterday we went out here and trained, and we threw just a real simple, straightforward triple. We had a short bird that was about, I don't know, probably 75 yards, and it was thrown kind of flat. And then directly behind that, we had an inline bird, then it was about 150, and it was thrown kind of angle in, because I know that the dogs were probably going to break down and hunt a little bit short after picking up the flat bird. And then over on the left side, we had a bird that was thrown kind of angle back, because I know the dogs were going to want to drive past the holding blind because they had just picked up a long bird. So once you learn to manipulate, your marks and your blinds and your factors, you can make it easier on your dogs, or you can make it harder on your dogs. Like I said in the beginning here, we're fixing to hit the road and head to Alabama here tomorrow, which will be the day you guys are seeing this anyway. So today, but I want my guys to feel real good about getting on this truck, driving 10 hours, staying on the truck for 3 or 4 days, and running a hunt test. So I want to do some feel good stuff this week, okay? Because this past weekend I ran, I ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I ran 10 series with these dogs, okay? So they've seen lots of multiple marks and ran lots of blinds and seen lots of factors, okay? So the last couple of days we've seen some real easy, feel good about what you're doing, pick your spirits up kind of stuff, because again, this weekend it'll be about 10 series, and they'll need some therapy on Monday, okay? Well, I appreciate your question. I hope this has answered some of them. You guys keep them coming. We're about 890 members now. We're creeping up on that 1,000 member mark. So you guys keep those newbies coming in, and we're going to get Trinity out here in just a minute and do our next session of right back on our casting drill. So I appreciate you joining us. I'm going to go get her, and we'll get started.